Do
Please,
we
how did
understand?
you insert again? Sorry.
You press I
That is,
to
how did you
insert.
insert again?
You press I to
Like, I
insert.
pressed I pressed I gave me options.
You click on the surface you want to insert first. You have to go to
Okay.
face select first. You click on the surface you want to insert and then you press I.
Sorry, go
Is
to
that
where?
you have to make sure you're on face select. You can only insert faces. Where my mouse is face select.
Okay.
Then you click on the surface you want to insert and press I. Is that
This is
clear?
why it's face select. This is why it's face select.
This top bar here where my mouse is, you can go to the teams and check where my mouse is right now. These top three icons, the first one is
The
vertex
third
select,
option.
the one is edge select, and the third option is face select. We're supposed to have watched the video for last class. We weren't in the last class, so you can't continue backtracking for everything. We won't go anywhere.
Sure, I'm sorry about that.
No problem. Just try and keep up. So now, back here, to create the text shape, we can also insert this face and then delete the face there. Is that clear? Hope no confusion, no question.
Please say it again.
I said to create the hole, to create a hole. There are multiple ways to create a hole in Blender, but if you want to create a uniformly sized hole, the simplest way is to insert a face on the surface you want to create the hole. Insert the face, then delete the new face. Press X to delete, and delete the new face. Is that clear? You can also
Okay,
use your
sir.
delete key to delete. Okay, you can also use the delete key to delete, but it's simplest to use X. So now we've created the basic table and the text icon and the text under it. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Can anyone spot a problem with what we've done so far? There's a problem with this text. Can anyone spot it out?
Please show your screen again. Show the.
This is the text here. There's a slight problem so far with the text. Can anyone spot it?
I think the text is too rectangular. There's no like curved surface. Just like sharp edges.
Okay, I was going to undo that, but that is correct, but that's not where I was going to. Now, if you remember with our text underneath, it's at some sort of thickness. This doesn't have any thickness. This is just the surface. Can we say that? Unlike this, there's a thickness to this side. This is the thickness here. But this bottom part does not have any thickness. It's just the surface. So in order to remedy that, do you understand that? Do you understand that? In order to remedy that, not really. Okay. In our text had a thickness. Objects usually have thicknesses, but on Blender we're working with hollow objects most of the time. Everything you create on Blender is hollow. That means it's like a hole on the inside. It's just empty on the inside, and the surface is pieces on the surface
Okay.
and empty on the inside. And it's the same thing for our deck. So when we created this inner layer, our deck doesn't have any thickness to it under. And so if this was a real table and you try to keep anything in this deck, this part will probably break off immediately because there's no strength to it. So what we can do to fix that is to add another surface on top of it. And we can do that by simply filling up these edges, these vertices, sorry.
Okay.
Fill up the vertices.
Sorry, I have a question.
Go on.
How do you click on your face, select your face? Because when I try to, it's selecting lines, edges, not faces in the edges
You're
thing.
on edge. It's because you're on edge select. Look at these three top 3 objects at the top. These 3 icons at the top, sorry.
All
Select
right.
on the one you want to click on. I'm currently on vertex select. I'm going to select the vertices here. It's clicking on the edges because you're on edge select. Smooth to face select to select the face.
Okay, I've done that.
Okay,
Okay,
now we can
thanks.
select
Thank you very
faces
much.
now. No problem. So, like I said, our object doesn't have any thickness to it. So, in order to add thickness, you can fill up an
So
empty
wait, I have a
space.
question.
Go on.
How do you remove this part?
What part? Oh, the hole I cut out.
Yes.
Okay. So the basic way to do that is to click on the surface you want to cut the hole in, then insert that surface, and then you delete the new surface, the new face that you've created, and you have your hole. Is that clear?
No, not really do.
Okay. First of
I'm
all,
sorry.
this is our cube.
Is it possible for us to extrude inwards like the other way?
It's possible, but why would you want to do that?
That will work.
Okay, to
I mean,
create.
instead of
Okay,
like
okay.
creating,
Yeah, that will work also. Instead of having to cut the face, you insert and you extrude inward. That will work also.
okay.
Thank you. That's a good idea. Any other person? Do you understand that? In case you don't understand the insert and cut. Yeah, there's another way you can also do it, but that's doing modifiers, and I haven't shown you guys modifiers yet, so don't let me get into that. Do you understand this? The idea is suggested. Huh? Nobody's saying anything. Let's move on. So you can insert and extrude inward.
Yes, I understand.
Okay, thank you. You can insert and extrude inward. This one insert and cut. You have to be careful so you don't extrude beyond the back of your cube. Is that clear? And this even fixes the problem we're trying to
Yes.
remedy in the first. And this even fixes the problem we're trying to remedy in the first place, because this leaves us with some thickness inside. Do you understand that? Okay, so let's move
Okay,
on.
so the better one is to intrude it after inserting.
Yeah, the better one is to extrude it inward after inserting. You can simply extrude it inward after inserting. It's shortens your steps. It's basically the same thing, but this is a shorter version of it. You extrude inward after inserting. It leaves you with thickness on the inside also, rather than leaving with empty space on the inside. Okay. So now the final thing is to add legs. Sorry, basically the final thing to our object now is to give our object legs. Is to give our object legs, and I use cylindrical legs in the model we're making. I use cylindrical legs that you can see. So the best way to do this is to simply build in, is to simply add a cylinder. There's no point creating. It's very difficult to get another shape of. It's very difficult to get a cylinder of a cube or to get a cube of a sphere. It's best to, if you want to add another object that is extremely different from the object you're working with, it's best to just add another one to it. And you can do that, add another object by using Shift A and adding a cylinder. You scale it down so it doesn't. You can scale it down so it's not too large. Cut it to an object. So I mentioned something about being careful about how things look from all angles last week. Can you remember that? Can you remember
Yes,
that?
sir.
Now, if we try to align this object here in a 3D viewport, we can align it this way, and we'll think that we've gotten it right. align it this way, I would think we've gotten it right. But when we start checking it from other viewports, now this okay, it doesn't even look right yet. Currently, this looks like it's directly beside the cube, right? But if I start examining it from other view angles, if I examine it from the front angle, that's Y. You notice, okay, it seems aligned from Y, from the Y-axis. Check it from the X-axis. I'm noticing that it's not even touching on the X-axis. So we have to always make sure we know how our objects look from various points. Personally, I like to work from Z most of the time because it allows us to see how it looks from the top, and most of the time it will align properly. So, but looking at it from the top now, we see that our object is being covered. We can't exactly see the side inside it. We can't see the smaller parts under it. So the best way, so a way of going about that of circumventing that issue is to use X-ray mode, and that's this little icon here, X-ray mode. Or you can also press Alt Z. If you notice, I've been doing that in and out of the class this morning. You can also press Alt Z. So it shows us where our lines are divided, and it shows us that this is where this line here is where our second is where the dex underneath starts from. So we can easily manipulate it that way. So it's directly aligned. Do you understand that? Do you understand that? Hello?
Yes. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah, great. Everyone is on board. We can bring this down to the side so it forms a more precise delay. And increase the length so it's a bit longer. Hey, so do you all follow so far? Hope all following so far. Now, rather than having to create this cylinder all over again for all four legs, there is a tool Blender has added called Array, and that's going to be our first introduction into modifiers. If we can go back to our team screen, let's quickly leave our Blender screen and come back to team so you can see what I'm doing. There is currently this wrench object. It's called modifier properties, where my mouse is situated on the over right now. If you click on it, you can see this little drop down should come out, and it's called add modifiers. If you click on add
Sorry, sir,
modifier,
how do you go there?
this little wrench object here. In our properties panel, there's a wrench object. It's an object that looks like a wrench or a spanner. Click on it, that's modifiers. Do we follow? So there are various modifiers we can see here. As you can see, there are various types of modifiers. Array, bevel, boolean, build, decimate, mirror, multi-resolution, etc., etc. Subdivision. This is the most used modifier on Blender, by the way. Subdivision subsurface. It's just exporting your object, but we don't need it for this for what we're making. The modifier we want to use is array. We want to use the array modifier. Now, what the array modifier does is it creates duplicates of your object. No matter how complex your object is, it will create an exact. Sorry. No matter how complex your object is, it will create an exact duplicate of it. Do we all follow? Do we all follow?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. Now, there are two legs on this. On the front side, there are two legs. So we want to create a count of two. Your count is how many duplicates to make. You can see if I keep adding duplicates, if I keep increasing my count, it keeps increasing the number of legs it's creating. But we only need two. That's your original, and the second one is creating. If you now come to this relative offset point, you can see that it is offsetting our object by a factor of 1. And now it is creating a new object directly beside the objects, directly beside itself. But we don't want, I want it to be on the other side of the table. So we can scroll down on this one, increase the factor, basically increasing how much, by how much is moving the new leg.
So I have a question.
Go on.
When I did that thing, I don't know, it copied both my cube shape and my cylinder.
Okay, this is the problem.
How can I like make it go off?
I'm coming. I'll show you what you did wrong. Okay, that's exactly what you did wrong. Well, you added your cylinder while you were in edit mode for your cube.
No,
Am I
I
right?
didn't create any shape actually. Just copied everything.
You copied everything on your screen.
Yes, and I didn't click on any shape.
You meant to click on the shape you want besides. That's number one. You meant to click on the shape you want. And number two, either way, it's because you added your cylinder while you were in edit mode for the cube. If you're in edit mode for the cube, if you're in one object edit mode and you add another object while in edit mode, it will parent the new object you add to the object that already existed. So if I added a cube now while I was on the cube for this table, and if I try to use array for this, it will array both of them together. Do we follow? Do you follow? So what you should have done was you should have added your cylinder, your legs. Why? You should have come out of edit mode to add your legs. That way it's not array.
Wait, I
That
don't
way it's
understand.
not,
I could have come out of any mode to add words, Mary.
no, to add your legs. The legs for the table, the
Oh.
cylinders. You created the cylinders while you were in edit mode for the cube. Am I right?
Yes.
Yeah, you should have stepped out of edit mode to do that. Because creating it while you were in edit mode for the cube parented that cylinders to the cube. So anything you try to effect on the cylinder will also affect the cube. Do you understand that?
Yes. But so I cannot remove this thing now.
There's a way you can. Let me show you what to do. Come to Blender. Come to your team surfaces. So I've added my under the cylinder. Okay. One way to fix that is to select your cylinder completely. Use Alt Z to go into X-ray mode and select every single face of your cylinder. Do you understand that?
Yeah, I'm full.
You can use Alt. Click on hold down your Alt key and select on your face. It should select all the faces around the cylinder. Then hold down Shift to select both the top and bottom face. So hold Alt and come to one of these side faces and select it. It will select all side faces round. It's called loop selector. You can see it on my
Sorry, I
on
don't
my
get that. Come again, please.
hold down the Alt key on your keyboard, hold it down, and select one of the sides on your cylinder. It will select all other sides with it. Do you understand that?
Yeah.
Did it work? Yes. Then hold down Shift so you don't deselect when you're trying to select something else, and select both the top and bottom surface of the cylinder. Is your cylinder completely selected now? Is your cylinder
I
completely
think so.
selected? Good. Then press P. P on your keyboard. You should bring out a drop down called Separate. Then Separate by Selection. Click on By Selection. And you should have separated your cylinder from your cube. Is that done?
Yeah.
Then you can add the array to just your cube. It won't carry your table along with it any longer. Are you settled?
Yes.
Wait, let's move on. So that should cover the two front legs. So to add the back legs, you can duplicate your array, duplicate your array, and instead of offsetting on the x direction any longer, you see the two new legs added here, all the way down here. But instead of offsetting on the x direction, you can change the direction to 0, and instead of offset on the y, so move it backward to create two new legs backward.
Please come again.
You can duplicate your array with the drop down menu at the top portion of it, or come to the modifier tab and press Shift D. Duplicate the array. Just cancel this. If you duplicate your array, it creates a new array menu under. Now you have to reduce the factor of x to 0 because right now it's duplicating the legs along the x-axis again, and see how far off it creates that. So you have to turn this one down to 0 so it doesn't duplicate it at all. And then you increase your y, the factor of y, so it duplicates it backward. Is that clear?
Yes.
Great. So the table is basically done for all effective purposes. It's a very simple item to create. And someone asked us someone said that the edges of the tables are too sharp. We can fix that by using bevel. I introduced us to bevel last week. So we come into our cube, and then we click on edge selects, click on the sharp edges. You want to select all four edges at the same time. Once you have all of that selected, you use Control B to bevel to insert your faces. Then when this bevel drop down comes down here, you increase the number of segments you want, and then it curves your surface, just like that. Was that clear?
Please come again. Sorry.
No problem, no problem. Someone complained that the edges were too sharp, that the edges of the table was too sharp. So the simplest way to fix that is to use bevel, the bevel toolkit. And we can see our bevel toolkit somewhere around here. Our bevel here on the drop down menu. Yeah. It's best to we split our screen into two. So we have our Teams menu on one side, and so you can also see what I'm doing on the other side. Now we can easily see what I'm doing without having to jump back and forth between tabs. You can see what I'm doing while you're working on it also. Something like this. So someone complained that the edges were too sharp. So we want to select the edges. We want to make the edges curve. We want to curve in the edges. And the best way to do that is to use the bevel tool key. So click on the edges you want to curve. Then you press Ctrl B and you pull out. And it curves your edges. Do you understand that? You do it to the most, turn the entire thing to a circle, sir. But we don't want to go beyond this place. We want to start dragging it out at this point, the edges. But we can simply make the edges curve a bit. And that should do. When this bevel toolkit comes up, you increase the number of segments. The more your segments, the more curve-like it appears. But be careful, if you use too many segments, your laptop can crash. So let's stick on something as simple as 4. Do you understand that?
So I have a question.
Go on.
I've got to like when you said how we are to move the legs so that it's matching all faces like the XYZ thing. What is it about that?
I said you have to make sure your legs are touching the table from all viewpoints, and we can check that by rotating on your 3D viewpoint to make sure it doesn't seem offset at any point. You can see that this one's aren't offset at any point, or you can simply come and look at it from the top top. And I said if your object here is blocking you, you go into X-ray mode, either by using this icon here, or by pressing Alt Z, Alt Z. You'll be able to see that the cylinders are directly beside beside the table. They're not shifted off it a bit. This was actually going in a little bit well. It's not too big of a problem. Do you understand that?
Yeah.
Okay, good. And do you understand how to curve the edges of our table?
Yeah, using bevel.
Yeah, using bevel. Good. So let's touch more on
But,
the array.
but can you go over the level again?
Of course. So when you have an object like this and you want to reduce the sharpness of the edge, you simply select the edge and use Ctrl B or your bevel icon, and then you pull out, and it curves the edges. Let me reduce the number of segments here to back to one. You select the icon and use Ctrl B to curve out your edge. What bevel does is it creates another edge directly beside your edge. It creates another edge beside your edge basically. And anytime you increase the number of segments, you are increasing the number of edges it's creating. But this time it adds the new edges in the middle, calculates the center point from where you moved to where you are now, and adds a new edge. So the number of segments you increase, the number of segments you add, the smoother the object becomes. But I said be careful not to add too many segments because it can crash your laptop if you get too much actually. And it's also slow down your render time drastically. I'm using 7 now. That's even much. We don't need up to 7. 4 will suffice. Even 3 should but let's stick with 4. So do you understand that? And you can also bevel multiple
Yes.
edges at the same. You can also bevel multiple edges at the same time. You click on the edges, use Shift to hold down so you don't lose the first one you selected, and Control B on all of them. And there you have it. Is that clear?
Yes, thank you.
Great. Now, I introduced us to the array modifier. So let's talk more on that, what you can do exactly. So we have the array modifier here. What the array modifier does is creates duplicates. It creates duplicates of an object. And it can create, if it shifts the object up from itself, the default setting is with a factor of 1 on the x-axis. That means it creates the duplicate of it directly on the x-axis, directly beside it on the x-axis. We can, however, increase this factor to whatever we like. So either increase the length, the distance between the two of them, or to even make it apply on another axis instead of the x-axis. You can see it's build here on the y-axis. You can say it's build here on the z-axis. Now this creates something special. Doing it, increasing the factor across multiple axes allows you to create several objects with simply the array. You can make a simple staircase like this. I have a simple staircase going up already just by using a simple cube and the array modifier. It's offsetted it on the z-axis, that's upward by a factor of 1, and to the x-axis by another factor of 1. And you've created something like as simple as this thing, as simple as a staircase. They haven't created other objects too. Let's create
So please
something.
come again about the staircase own.
Well, I said you can use the array modifier, array and objects. Instead of setting it off just the x-axis, you can offset it on both the x and z-axis. You can set it on both the x and the z-axis by factors of 1 each. Just play around with it and increase the count to your number of staircases, to your number of okay, to your number of increase the count to the number of cases you want on your stairs, and that's all. Simple. You can even create a simple Rubik's cube self. Offset a little bit to give us the gaps in between. Then we duplicate this. Offset on the y-axis instead this time. 0. Then we duplicate this again and offset on the x-axis. A simple Rubik's cube here. So that's the power of modifiers. You know how long it's going to take us to be duplicating and be copying these objects to create something like this that we did in mere seconds using modifiers. And there are several other modifiers like that. We'll discuss more on several of them as we move on in Blender. You can play around with it. This is just to show us some of the capabilities of the array modifier. You can also fit the array modifier to a specific length. Like let's use the Rubik's cube now. We have our Rubik's cube here. I want our Rubik's cube to create Rubik's cube along the wall of an object, along this the wall of a building. Now instead of using the fixed count here, you can use fit length and then increase the length as you see fit. Hold on. We create an array for this. I'll use fit length instead of fixed count. And we increase the length that we want this to fit in. I have no idea why that is not fitting to the length basically. Okay, let's go away from that. I have no idea why it's not working. I'll check back on that later. Well, that's basically that for the array modifier. Do you understand that? Do you understand that?
So what was the measurement of the Rubik cube?
Oh, it doesn't matter now. Can you use whatever measurement you want?
Okay, I mean like how to make the 9 cubes to form that Rubik cube.
Oh, okay. So all I simply did was I started from a singular cube. I created a singular cube. Let's scale this down so it doesn't get too large like last time. We start from a singular cube. Then we use the array modifier. We created a count of 3. There are 3 sides to the Rubik's cube. Now they are all touching, but we know the Rubik's cube doesn't touch. So we increase this by the slightest value possible. We increase just by a little bit. I haven't slow down this. Bring it closer a little bit. And we duplicated the effect of this modifier. We instead of using it on the x-axis this time, we offset it on the y-axis. And then we do the same thing again, duplicate it again. Instead of offset it on the y-axis this time, or x, we offset on the z. Our Rubik's cube. You understand that?
Yeah, thanks.
Okay. That's that. So let's move back to our table. So we're done with the table. Any question on how to build the table? Any question on how to model the table, on anything we did that was not clear? This is not the only way to model the table. You can work it out several other ways. This is never how I did my own when I was modeling it personally. Well, any question on this so far? No. So the reason why, another reason I brought up the array is so we can create multiple versions of this table. So we can create multiple versions of this table. If we join, um, we join these two objects together by using Ctrl J. If we join the legs and the table together, you apply the modifier on the legs first. So you have to apply your modifiers, if not, it won't show on your edit mode or even on your render. Can you see what I'm applying here? I can just hover over the modifier and press Ctrl A.
So
That will
please come
apply.
again.
I said we have to apply our modifiers. Modifiers only work in effects. It affects your objects or whatever you are modeling. Until you apply it, it is not set. So we always have to apply a modifier. Once we are done working with it, we will apply it. You can click on this drop down here. The same drop down is used to duplicate, and click on apply. Or you over your mouse over what you want to over the modifier and press Ctrl A. Are we clear? Okay, let's move on. And then we join the two objects together by using Ctrl J. You can now create arrays for these new objects. And that's the way I did the multiple decks in my class. Duplicate this and array it along the x-axis, y-axis also. Quickly by 3 model. Do you understand that? Do you understand that?
Yes.
Okay, so let's move on. Let's move on to the airplane. I wanted us to touch the chairs, but we have less than an hour left, and that airplane is going to take some time. And the chairs are very similar to the table. Start from a simple basic cube also. So let's move on to something new. So this is what we want to model now. This airplane. This is what we want to model. Can we all see it? Can we all see it?
Yes, yes, we can.
Yes.
Okay. So what's the objects we can use to model?
A cylinder.
So what object can we use to?
Cylinder.
Huh?
A cylinder.
Any
A
idea?
cylinder. A cylinder.
A cylinder. A cylinder, excellence. You can start with a cylinder. Sorry, I don't know the cylinder. You can start with the cylinder. I'm so okay. We start the cylinder. So we delete this cube. As the video cut up, and we add a cylinder. So let's lie the cylinder down. I don't know what this is. So we rotate the cylinder to lie down across the y-axis. Let's type 90. Slide down. Is that clear? So we have the base shape for our cube already, for our plane already. But there's something I wanted to do because the laptop was hanging, that's why I couldn't do that. So we're starting with a cylinder. Now, if we come to this drop down menu for the cylinder, we'll say that the cylinder has 32 vertices. Can we say that? Can we say that? Create a new cylinder if you've already clicked out. Delete that cylinder and create a new cylinder so you can access this drop down menu. You can see that it has 32 vertices. Let's reduce that to around, let's say 8. We don't need all 32. We're not trying to create a circular plane. Okay, we want it to be too circular. Can jump down to around 8. So it's give us something like an octagon.
I don't understand.
Okay. So add a new cylinder, delete the cylinder on your screen currently. Add a new cylinder, a new cylindrical object. Then reduce the vertices from 32. The default is 32. Reduce the vertices from 32 to around 8 or anything you feel will be suitable. I'm going to be working on 8, so you can move it down to 8 if you want to. 32 would work also. It's not that 32 will work, but it's too much for what we need. Can reduce it to around 8. It should change your cylinder to more of an octagonal shape. An octagon, 8 sides. Do we follow?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Then we can rotate the cylinder across the y-axis to lie it down. What type you want? To lie it down. Simple. So now I have a cylinder, the base shape of our plane. So let's scale it out across the x-axis so to increase the length. It was much longer than that. So here we have it. So now going into edit mode. So once to give it a try, how can we create something like
Sorry, how
this?
did you bring it down again?
How did I rotate it down?
Yes, please.
I
Sorry.
rotate it across the y-axis now. I simply rotate it across the y-axis, 90 degrees. Press R, then press Y, then type 90. That will work.
Oh, okay.
So rotate across 90 degrees on your y-axis. So let's come here. So let's see. So how do you want to go about making something like this? Anyone?
I think we'll bevel the top of the cylinder.
Bevel the top of the cylinder. Let's try that. Let's face that. Okay. So bevel the bottom. It was that slopey feel. Can we say that? So that will work. But the problem with beveling is that. But the problem with that. Hold on. Let me add the image to my blender. So that's keep tapping out of the blender to add the new image. So let me add the image. So to add an image on Blender, sorry, let's hide this. Oh, I'm using H to hide objects, by the way. Anytime an object disappears off screen, is H I'm pressing. How can we record that? So I can't be mentioning everything I'm doing all the time. to hide an object, like you're not deleting the object, you're just hiding it off screen. So to do that is H you press. Click on the object and press H. That's hide, it hides the object. You can see it down here on our screen cascades. What I was doing since I just realized I didn't mention it. Sorry. So to add an image to Blender, just use your shift, your basic for adding everything. You come down to image here. Now we have reference and background. If you select background, these grid lines you're seeing, it's to change the grid lines to the image. And that's not what we want. So let's use a reference. Let's use a reference instead. Then you select where your image is saved. I just downloaded it, so mine is under downloads. And then
So when we get the image, should we download or?
My shift A is not work. It's not bringing image, just shapes.
you are still in edit mode. Come out of edit mode. Huh?
So are we
Have
to
you seen
download the image?
Eh?
Are we to download the image, or where can we get the image from? The reference
I was-
image.
I will send the image afterwards. We don't need it. I just need the image, so I have to keep going out of Blender to reference it.
Okay,
The
sir.
image
Thank you.
uploaded. I'm just uploading the image on my Blender, so I have to keep going out. So this is the image we're working with here. This first I just downloaded it today, yeah. Just before the class. So load reference image. So we have loaded image here on our Blender. We can shift it to the side a bit. Doesn't disturb what we're actually doing. Let's go back a second though. I'm going to switch over this. Okay. So I asked, how do we? I said she suggested that someone suggested that we use a bevel with the top of our cylinder to give us this slopey feel, which was what we did. But that creates a problem because if you notice, this top part is not nearly as long as this, and it goes far too tiny. Now what beveling can do, even if we decide to, add surfaces to bevel on more than one segment, it's still going to create some sort of problem for us because it won't give us the exact thing we need. So let's do that. We bevel this. We add more than one segment. Just keeps on covering it upward. It's not exactly what we need. You can decide to bevel again, but then that creates a problem when affects the solution. What are the solution? So what we want to do rather than beveling is to use loop cuts. We want to use loop cuts rather than use bevels. Let me go into the viewport to show you what I mean by loop cuts. So remember to add loop cuts, Control R. Control R to add loop cuts. You can see it down here. And create another one down here. Slide it upward here. And add some more here. Now what we want to do is to go into X-ray mode and to go into one view.
I don't get how you added the loop code.
Control R to add loop cuts. Go into edit mode and use Control R. If you scroll up on your mouse pad to increase the number of loop cuts you want, scroll down to decrease it down. When you're ready, you left click. You can slide it down after left click into places where you want to place it. And then you slide it after left click to places and left click again. If you right click, you are setting it back to the middle of the objects. Do you understand that?
Sir, but the spaces is giving me after when I'm scrolling my mouse is more than those small spaces that you have between the loop cuts.
Let me do that again. So
I said,
I know I heard you. I heard you. So a loop cut creates a cut in the center of your object. It places the cut in the center of your object, and you can now slide the loop, slide it to where whatever point you want. So I want mine to be around somewhere here, so I'm sliding it here. Now, if I add another loop cut at this place, it will create a loop cut in between this first loop cut and the edge of the object. And I can scroll up to add as many loop cuts as I want. Is that clear?
yes.
Okay. Then you let's click twice to get what you want. So you can do the same thing for here. The other side. Exactly. And now we can now control just how much you want to cover objects with this loop cut. If you highlight the entire line up on X-ray mode, because it's won't work if you're not on X-ray mode, though, and then you scale down, you can control the exact shape you want from your object. Exactly. Exactly. Do you understand that?
No.
Okay. When we have our loop cuts placed here, when we have our loop cuts placed at the edges of the objects, the edges we want to at the part we want to create this shape with, what we have to do now is to highlight each individual edge. You can either do that using coming to X mode and highlighting everything with the box select, or you can use your Alt key, Alt and select one to select everything around. Alt and select one and to select everything around. But first work on X mode, and then you scale down whatever point you want. And do that continuously. Do you understand that? Do we understand that?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so you can do the same thing for the other side. Let's do the same thing for the other side. Let's do the same thing for the other side. let's come back to the one I did earlier, so we can just move on from that. Let's try and do it for the other side. So before I come back to this, just yeah. So should we have a shape similar to this? You have a shape similar to this.
As I have fast to
Do we have a shape similar to this? Let's take our time. I want us to do it ourselves. We don't just follow what I'm doing. If you notice that this lower edge, I extruded to give us this point here. So when you are done with that bottom part, you can extrude the bottom part to give us that long point. When we're done with that, let me know so we can move on. Let me know when we're done with that though. Are we done? Are we done? Hello?
I
Are we done with that?
got lost.
You got lost? Where?
I don't know how you're forming this the curve and resizing it. I'm not spread.
I said you should use loop cuts. You can use loop cuts to do that.
I've done the loop cuts. I mean, making it to have this cone mouth.
The conic shape.
Yeah.
You've gotten this far, right?
No.
No, at this edge, ignore the other parts. This edge, right? You've done this so far. Huh?
No,
Have you
I
done this?
just had the round cylinder with loop cuts.
I know I said ignore these parts, ignore these bottom parts. You've done this but these top parts, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So I'm just trying to mention. Good. So we can create that conic shape by scaling down on each of these loop cuts. We scale on something like this. You can scale down on something like this. To give us that conic shape. Exactly. Scale this one up. More gradual slope to show this conic shape again more. You understand that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Eh?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so let's move on. Have we all gotten something similar to this? It doesn't have to be exact, but similar. Huh? Have we all gotten something similar to this?
Yeah.
Any other person?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
great. Okay, that's good. So let's move on. So the next thing we have to add is this top part. This top part, that's the next thing we have to add to the objects. So we already have this basic cylindrical shape. So now to add the top part. Now the objects, whoever modeled this is not my modeling. I just picked it up online just to explain it. Um, the objects whoever modeled this used is called an icosphere, and you can see that if you add. Remember to leave edit mode before you add another object, so you don't add it, so you don't parent it. It's called an icosphere, and this is it here. So the person used an icosphere to create that top part. So let's add an icosphere to our sign, to our model, and we can drag it up and scale across the Y, so it doesn't extend beyond our plane edges. And scale across Z to X, sorry, to elongate it a little bit. Very clear with this. Are we clear with this?
Not yet.
Let's get clear on that. Have we all gotten this?
Sir, please come again with the icons.
I said the specific object that person used is called an icosphere. This top part where mouse is hovering over, that blue one, is called an icosphere. So we can add an icosphere to our to our model. It's not every time you get lucky enough that there's an exact replica of what you're looking for on Blender, but that's what that person used there is exactly an icosphere. There's no difference within what the person used. So we created I added an icosphere to my model, and I adjusted it so it's placed on top in a similar fashion to the way it is in the model I'm trying to make is. I scaled it across to make it fit this way. Pull it down a little bit so it doesn't stick out as much. And see that. we say that?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So now, if you look at the X-ray mode, you will see that you have the icosphere within the plane body. That's we have the top part also entering the plane body. But we don't want that. We want only the top surface on the body. We want to get rid of all these bottom parts. Now, usually you can simply delete these bottom parts, but most times to leave sorry, most times to leave some. It's not an exact measurement. It doesn't always give us an exact measurement, and you can see that some part of it are still inside. So what we want to use is another modifier called a boolean. We want to use another modifier called a boolean. So you click on this the plane body or the cylinder, go to add modifiers and add a boolean. We add a modifier and add a boolean. So what the boolean does, the boolean modifier cuts one object into another, and there are various ways you can work on it. There's the intersect, there's the union, and there's the difference. So let me go over them one by one. If I click on intersect and I click on the object I want this icosphere, what happens is that the boolean modifier cuts and leaves out only the part of my object in touch with that boolean, with the other objects. Can we see that this other gets cut out from it? Well, this is not what we want, so let's undo that. We use union, we use difference, sorry. Let's start with difference first. And we apply. The boolean cuts a shape, an exact replica of that shape into the main body. Can we see that? But the one I want to use for today is called union. Let's change the settings to union and apply it. Then we delete the original sphere body because it's still be there also. So what happens in this case is that
Oh, sorry, what's the modifier?
Boolean modifier, Boolean, Boolean. I think it's the second one in the modifier panel. No, the third one, sorry. The Boolean modifier. Have you seen it?
Yes.
Okay. So you use the Boolean modifier on the cylinder. You apply it to union, use the union setting. What the different setting do? Intersect cuts the object in a way that it's only the part of the. We remember, as you remember set theory, they do basically the same thing. Intersect, it takes the part of the two objects that are in contact and deletes every other thing. Difference takes the parts of the two objects. It takes the part of the Boolean object in the original object and cuts it out and deletes the original one. While union joins the two objects together and takes only the part of the Boolean object in contact with it. So it basically cuts out the yeah, it cuts out the Boolean objects. Oh, I've not applied. What one do I think I was where am I gonna put it? And it leaves us with something like this as one object. If you come into tab, you will see that it's one object. Can I say that?
Sir, so it's union we are using for today for this one.
Yes, union.
Okay, sir.
Intersects divide. We can play around with it later. Intersects creates it leaves only the part of the two objects in contact. Um, Difference cuts a hole in the main object. while union joins the two objects together basically and cuts out all the excess parts that we don't need. If you go into X-ray mode now, you can see that um, the other part of the icosphere has been deleted. It's just that part with our union on the top of the plane body that is left. Can we see that?
Okay. Yes, sir.
So, so you understand why I had to use the Boolean modifier, right?
Yes, sir.
Because just deleting it would have left it on top on the body like that. And so it's Boolean used in situations like that.
That
Okay.
mine is not working.
What's going
I don't
wrong?
know what I did.
What went wrong? What exactly is showing on your screen?
The shape is still as full as it is.
Oh, okay. Just delete the mention. Have you applied your modifier? Have you applied your
Yes.
modifier?
So I think I know what is wrong.
Hold on, let
On
me.
the
Okay.
object, before I didn't select icosphere on the object part. So
Oh,
I
you have to
selected
select icosphere.
yes, let us select
You have-
icosphere.
if you've gotten if you selected your cylinder, you select your plane body, then you go to modifiers and apply the boolean to the modifier. Then under the object part, you select icosphere. Okay, let me go to the bottom part of this one. Let me edit to the bottom of this one. Understand what I'm saying? So you add a new icosphere, drag upward, scroll this down. So we want to cut out this top part to the body of the cylinder. So you have to come from the cylinder, add the modifier on the cylinder, not on the icosphere. You add the modifier on the cylinder, add the Boolean modifier on the cylinder. Then your object, the mesh object used for the Boolean operation, you come and select your icosphere.
When we are done, are we to apply?
Yes, you
Are we to
apply.
click on apply?
Yes, you apply. You
I think
select.
that's what should have been.
Hold on. You select your icosphere, and then you apply. Now the thing is, this icosphere you used is still going to be left there, so you delete it. Oh, I use difference. Hold on. Come to union, and then you apply. This icosphere you use is still going to be there, so you delete it off, and then you're left with the main shape. Do you understand that? Do we understand that?
Eh,
Have you gotten it?
I applied and I'm getting a second icosphere. Like there are two separate ones.
Yes, delete the full one.
Okay.
Have you deleted the full one?
So we have to do that.
No. Just when I apply the one under, just to show you how to do it again.
Okay, sir. I was afraid.
It's just one we need. No, it's just one we need. Okay. Are we all set on this? So the next part is to add propellers. Well, let's do the wings first. Sorry. Let's add our wings first. So I'm going to top panel. Are we ready for this? Are we ready to move on to this part? We have like 15 minutes left, so let's be fast. Are we all here? Have you all gotten something similar to this? Have you all got something similar to this? So let's move on to the wings. So you can, I'm going to use a plane for the wings rather than a cube. I had a plane shape, just a simple two-dimensional plane. Doesn't have any height. I can model it into to form the shape of the plane itself, of the wings. Not the top, that's it.
Have you finished your lecture?
No,
Ah,
I can model this part to form this. So this one is sloping this way a bit. Let's open this.
what's in the book?
We can create something like this for the wings parts. Yeah. Not exact, but you get the idea. So do we get that? Okay, maybe it's to match the body of the plane.
Not really. You make it three edges. You added loop cut.
Exactly, I added the loop cuts.
Okay, sir.
So do we get that? I'm working with a plane object. Um, she's a piece plane, not a cube. For those of us that are confused, the problem is the plane is two-dimensional. So when you look at it, but you can't even see anything. It's here. Where is it here? Exactly. It's here, but it doesn't have any height, so you can't even see it. I'll fix that in a while, but let's start with this first. So have we gotten that?
Yeah, we're still working on it. You're faster than us.
Okay, let's let's do that. I see the way it's supposed to be shaped here, just for reference. They even use four edges in this one. I didn't count it properly. One, two, three, four. I made mine with three, but it doesn't matter. I've gotten the wings down. We need to move on now. Most of the time. Just make one wing. I'm not wasting our time making two wings. There's only one we have to do for now. Just do one. We'll duplicate that one on the other side. Just do one. Okay, let's move on. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Are we ready to move on?
Yes, sir. For me, I don't know about others. But it's a struggle for now.
Any other person ready to move on?
Yeah.
You've gotten your own. You've gotten the wings also. Have you gotten the
Yeah.
wings? Okay. So, like I said, the wing is a two-dimensional object. We added a plane, not a cube, because the plane is easier to manipulate to build the shape with. So, in order to make it three-dimensional, I want to suggest that we can make it three-dimensional. Make suggestion.
Extrude.
Excellent. We can extrude it. Select all surfaces. Select all surfaces and extrude. Simple as that. Let's make it three-dimensional. Is that clear?
Yeah.
Okay. So now we want to move the plane. We want to duplicate this wing to the other side. So it's two basic steps. Number one, every object we have on Blender has an origin. Sort of like a center of mass. If you select them, you can see these dots. That shows the origin of the object. You can see that orange dot whenever you select an object. If you come to the cylinder, you see the dots in the cylinder here. So now we want to rotate this wing on the other side of the plane. In order to do that, we have to change the origin because if we try to rotate it now, look across, no, across Y. If we decide to rotate it now, it's going to be forming on the same place. But we need it to move to the other side. So the first thing we need to do is to duplicate the object number one. Shift D is to duplicate. Shift D. Just duplicate, then right click. It has created another object, but it's just currently overlapping the one we're seeing there. Shift D is to duplicate. Duplicate the object, then right click. Now for the new object you duplicated, I want you to right click on the object, then click on set origin and origin to 3D cursor. Do we follow that? Do we follow in that?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So now you can rotate the object across the y-axis alone and make the wing on the other side. Turn the angle to 180.
Sir, what of those of us that we didn't put our We didn't start our shapes at the origin. Like we have to move them away.
No. My own shape is not at the origin either. So all you have to do is, if your wing was originally touching your plane like this, just
Okay,
duplicate
sir,
the
I
wings using
understand.
shift
Yes, sir.
D, then set the origin to the 3D cursor, that's to the center, and duplicate it, and rotate it to get to the other side. Is that clear? Is
Should
that clear?
should the plane be
Should the plane
Yes,
be?
sir.
should the plane
Should the plane what?
be inserted into the a plane body?
Yeah, we can leave it inserted right now. We can bring it out so it just touches, and you can use union, the Boolean union we used for the icosphere on it also. But I don't, so we have, it's already 7 o'clock actually. I don't so supposed to finish this. So we can use union for it if you don't want to enter inside the plane body. Boolean union. Right. And delete this original one. This way it doesn't touch. But don't do it for the second one yet, because I want us to duplicate the second one. So if we duplicate this one again, Shift D, and then right click so it stays in its same position. And then we rotate it across the y-axis, but this time 90 degrees. Grab it exactly on top of our plane. And all we have to do now is to move it downward. Move it down to the tail point of our plane.
Hello, sir. It's like this is 7 o'clock. I'm
Yes,
really Muslim. Want to pray now.
I can't hear you.
Yes, sir. I'm really Muslim. Want to pray. Please, what should we do now?
I can't hear you, sorry. Okay, Muslims, we have to pray.
Yes, sir. It's like yeah,
Oh,
it
okay.
is 7 o'clock. So what should we do now?
Perhaps we'll pick up from here next week. Or I will just record the remaining part of the class and post it alongside the recording, and you just go through the ending. Understand that you have to leave, sorry. Sorry that we lost our time. Let's just I will take the recording of the remaining class. I will end the recording after I'm done with the plane, so you guys will see how I did it, and then we'll move on. Then you can go through it on your own time. So Muslims, if you want to go and pray, please feel free to. Don't let me hold you down. Why? The class has basically ended. It's 7 o'clock already. I'll just go through it and leave it in the recording, so we'll see what I did. Okay, so after duplicating this object here, you rotate it along the y-axis 90 degrees to bring it directly on top of the plane. What we're trying to do now is to add the fin blades, these 3 fin blades here. So if you bring it downward, pull it along the y-axis, and then you scale it down. You have the first of your fin blades. You can duplicate this one too. Rotate along the y-axis 90 degree. Duplicate the original plane head again, and rotate along the y-axis negative 90, so it goes in the other direction. You have the fin blades.
I have a question.
Go on.
Please, can we have a WhatsApp number?
I'll put it on the Slack channel.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. So finally, the last thing we need to do is to put the blades at the top. So I'm going to use the planes the same way I did the wings this time around. Let's just hide all of this. Okay, let's just move it to the side. I have some other object on the side that I don't want to hide it, so I won't have a problem setting it out. About the plane, we try and create a propellers this time around. Not the propeller, sorry, the blades. Let's just scale everything along the y-axis. Then if you notice the top part is thinner, you know the way a fan blade works. The top part is usually slightly thinner than the bottom parts. Let's thin it out. Cross Y. We grab this on the x-axis. You can use the same trick we used to duplicate the planes. Shift D to duplicate and rotate
I'm
along.
moving fast.
Okay. Do you understand where we are so far? Are we following with where we are so far?
No, sir. No, sir. They are faster than us.
Sorry, I was trying to rush because of the time. Let me just bring this back.
Sir,
And
no
all of you
problem, I
that,
understand.
all the people that have to leave the chats. That's why the classes were made to end by 7, so the Muslims can go and pray. That's actually why we set it to end 7. It was originally meant to be 6 to 8, but we don't want it to cut into the prayer time. So that's why I don't want to end. And I'm not the one taking next week's class. So that I've just postponed all of this to next week. But Dozier, the coach tutor, is the one taking next week's class. So that's why I didn't want to push this. Also, is one on because it didn't start with us, so it doesn't confuse us. So it doesn't get confused. You don't know what to do, but it's better to finish something you start. You understand what I'm trying to say? So do you understand how I put the second one and how I put the tail fans? That's what they are called. These three. Do you understand how I put all these three?
Yes,
Hello?
sir.
We understand how I did these three, right? And these two blades.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So what I want to add now is this. These blades at the top. That's what I want to add. So I'm doing it the exact same way I did the wings and the tail fins. I believe that's what they're called. And so I just moved all of this out of the viewpoint area, so it doesn't have to avoid confusion. I just moved them downward a bit, so I can have a free area to work on my plane with. Added a new plane. And added a new plane here. And I reduced the size, scale across Y. Reduce the size of the blades. And I said, if you remember, if you notice, the top part of the blades are slightly thinner than the bottom part. So scale across Y also to thin out the bottom part. Yeah. So I want to duplicate the object in a circular form. I want to make 4 of it in a circular form. So I'm doing it the same way I did the first one. First of all, offset it along the x-axis here. Then you set origin tab. Set the origin to 3D cursor.
So I said offset. I don't.
Oh, I mean pull it up, move it along the x-axis. Grab and move. Do you understand that?
Okay, sir.
Yeah, grab and
Yes.
move it along the x-axis. I mean offset it from its original position, not I mean the offset. So then we can duplicate this using Shift D. Then rotate, I think, along the z-axis here. Rotate across 90 degree. Duplicate the next thing. Rotate it along the z across 90 degree again. Duplicate, rotate along z across 90 degree again. And we have the 3 blades. We can select all 3 and rotate them a bit so it doesn't stay in the same orientation. So do we follow this? Do we follow how this was gotten? Say gotten. Sorry. Do you follow how we got this? Do you follow with how we got this? Forgive my English. So I'm going to join all 4 objects together. Control J, or you can right click. Just click join. So I can move them together without being bothered about select everything. Select one and move it all together. Great. Now to pull this back. Pull this back to where it was originally. And grab on this, rotate it so it stands straight. Take that way along the X. Yeah, 90 along the X of this. Then you grab and pull it out a bit. Let's make it a bit circular. You can scale it down so it's, I don't know. So are we here? We're clear with this so far. Remember that we didn't extrude our blades, so it still has planes. So if we come to the side, we won't even see anything. So right now I'm going to tab mode and extruding it again. There's something I wanted to show you, another modifier. You can use the solidify modifier. Solidify, so give it some thickness. Can we see that? Always remember to apply your modifiers, even if it won't stay. Apply. And there we have that. Let's bring this out. Let's like this one. You can use. Do we follow with this? Any problem with this so far? Anything I've done so far?
Sorry, please, how do you set the origin to this? How did you set the origin?
To the center.
Yes.
You right click, sorry. Then you see set origin. Click on the object whose origin you want to set.
Yes.
You right click, then you click set origin to 3D cursor. Do you follow with that?
Yeah.
So any other problem?
Okay, sorry. How do I change where my 3D cursor is?
You can use this icon here, cursor, and you can place the 3D cursor anywhere else.
Hello?
Hello?
Hello? How do I change where my 3D cursor is placed?
Like I said, come out of you can see this icon here. That is tool on your tool panel. You see the cursor icon directly under the select icon. And you can select and move your 3D cursor anywhere you like.
Thank you.
Okay. You can snap back to move your 3D cursor back to the origin, cursor toward the origin. Okay, so what I wanted to do was to add a torus. A torus is like a donut shaped object. So I can insert the blades into the torus. So do you all get this? And that's all for the plane. You wonder why we're not coloring anything today is because that's what we'll be treating in next week. We're treating textures next week. So we'll be adding colors to like I said, she does dossier. Will be the one teaching us that next week. Is the co-tutor, assistant tutor. And he'll be the one taking us on that next week. I'll just be taking then I'll continue week 4 with our first projects, our chessboard. So any questions for a roundup?
There are many.
Like what?
I just finished making my propeller blades now.
Okay.
I think you put a circle thing in between it.
Yeah, it's called a torus.
I don't know.
Shift A under mesh, you'll see torus there.
Okay.
Have you seen it? Have you seen it?
I've seen it, sir.
Okay, great. Any other question? Should have ended the class by now. We shouldn't still be in class. It's trying to end by 7. Are we through with this? Any questions? Okay, actually I have to round up now. So let's just pay attention. We can finish this later. I'll put the recordings on the Slack this night. Both for those with access to Teams and without access to Teams. And that's number 1. Number 2, there are a lot of reasons we chose Microsoft Teams in the first place, but right now it's seeming to be more trouble than it's worth. Most people can't log on because of Microsoft restrictions and everything like that. And the numbers we had in this class was far, far below what we were supposed to have. And I don't I don't know what we can do about that because I don't think the organizers will want to change from Teams. So perhaps I'll ask in the group chat. I'll put a poll on the group chat to see whether some people would like us to take perhaps Zoom classes on Saturday evenings. So go through what we did on Saturday for those that can't join the class, those that can't join the Teams class, and that's about that. So next week we'll be Dozie will be teaching you guys on textures and colors on Blender. I will tell him to introduce himself on the Slack channel. He hasn't spoken on the Slack channel so far. I'll ask him to introduce himself. Then week 4, week 4 we'll be starting on our projects. And this is not what I'm supposed to do. We'll be making chess pieces week 4. This is not the entire thing. I thought that was the entire thing. Chess for ECX. Yeah, this is the board we'll be using. These are projects for week 4. We'll be creating a chess board. If you've noticed, I didn't put the knights there because we'll be sculpting the knights immediately after we do this. We're using sculpting this workspace to do the knights afterwards. But this is what we'll be making in week 4.
Is it for next week?
No, next week is textures. You'll be discussing on colors and how to make objects look like what they're actually supposed to look like. For instance, now we created everything we created so far, from the table to the plane. They all have the same basic grayish color. So we'll be dealing next week. We'll be dealing on how to give them their own colors, and not just their colors, but their textures. A table is brown and bricks are also brown. But when you see one, you know which one is which. Wood is brown and bricks are brown, but you can know which is which just by looking at it. So there are ways to apply it in texture. That's called shading. Yeah, we'll be treating with that next week also. But this is what we'll be doing upper week, the chessboard. Chessboard is for upper week. So then after this, we'll treat sculpting with our knights. We're making the knights by sculpting, via sculpting. So that's all for today. Sorry that we extended beyond what we're supposed to stop. But we also started quite late. And that's all. So good night, everyone. Any questions before I log off? Any questions?
No, sir. Thank you.
Okay.
Then you go. I'll leave it to